When you think about patents, what comes to mind? Probably some super dry legal document, right? But what if I told you that some of these documents aren't just protecting ideas? They're literally blueprints for the future. A handful of them didn't just tweak something, they completely rewired the world as we know it. So today we're going to unpack 10 of those absolute game changers. And these aren't just about clever gadgets. No, these are the foundational patents for modern life itself. From how we first sent a voice across an ocean to how we literally carry a supercomputer around in our pockets. Get this. Our journey is going to span more than 130 years of revolutionary thinking. We're starting in a world that was lit by gas lamps and connected by the slow click-clack of telegraphs. And we're going all the way to the dawn of the smartphone era, tracing the exact documents that built the world we live in today. All right, first up, let's dive into two foundational inventions that, well, they literally turned on the lights and gave the modern world its voice. The short answer, you just couldn't. Communication was all dots and dashes. Yeah, the telegraph could send words, but it couldn't send a laugh or a whisper or the excitement in someone's voice. You got the information, sure, but you lost all the humanity behind it. And then came U.S. Patent 174-465. The genius of Alexander Graham Bell's idea was to take the actual vibrations of a human voice and turn them into a matching, flowing electrical current. For the very first time, we could send not just words, but our actual voices across a wire. This wasn't just an upgrade to the telegraph, it was the birth of a truly connected planet. Well, you were pretty much stuck with fire. We're talking candles, oil lamps, and hissing gas lights. They were all kind of dim, pretty dangerous, and basically, when the sun went down, so did most of human activity. And this is where Thomas Edison's patent comes in. He solved the problem with a design that was just beautiful in its simplicity. He put a special carbon filament inside a vacuum-sealed glass bulb, and that made it glow brightly for hours and hours without just burning out. It wasn't the first electric light ever, but it was the first one that was actually practical. And this is such a key point, you guys. These patents didn't just give us phones and light bulbs. They created the demand for massive power grids and global telephone networks. They completely rewired society and kicked off the 24/7 world we now take for granted. Okay, so we've seen the big, world-spanning stuff. Now let's zoom way in, from those massive networks to the microscopic little components that would end up creating the digital brain that powers almost everything we use today. You have to understand, early electronics were absolute monsters. Computers took up entire rooms and were filled with thousands of hot, fragile, and power-hungry vacuum tubes that were always failing. To get smaller, faster, and more powerful, something radical had to change. And the answer was the transistor. Patented by scientists at Bell Labs, this tiny little semiconductor device did the same job as those huge, fragile vacuum tubes. It was a reliable, low-power electronic switch. And this tiny switch wasn't just an improvement. It was the atom of the digital age, the fundamental building block for literally everything that was about to come. But even with transistors, there was a huge problem. I mean, can you imagine trying to wire millions of these tiny things together by hand? It was a total nightmare, what they called the tyranny of numbers. Jack Kilby's brilliant solution was to build an entire circuit, transistors, resistors, the whole shebang, on a single tiny piece of semiconductor. The microchip was born, and with it, the clear path to eventually putting a computer right in your pocket. Before the 1970s, it was a logistical nightmare. Every single item in a store had a price tag that someone had to punch in by hand at the checkout. Taking inventory, that was a clipboard and a pen. It was incredibly slow, expensive, and just full of human error. And believe it or not, this simple pattern of lines and spaces, patented way back in 1952, mind you, solved the whole mess. The barcode let a scanner instantly identify a product and its price, automating retail and creating the hyper-efficient global supply chains that we totally rely on today. All right, let's jump forward to the patents that are really shaping the world we live in right now. We'll focus on the light that carries our data, the power that keeps our devices running, and the code that helps us make sense of it all. Next up, the laser. And yeah, it's actually an acronym. Gordon Gould's patent was one of the keys that unlocked its commercial potential. This amazing technology, which creates a super focused beam of light, is now the backbone of everything from fiber optic internet and delicate surgeries to heavy-duty industrial manufacturing. Seriously, think about it. Every single portable thing you own, Your phone, your laptop, your wireless earbuds, it all runs on this one invention. The big challenge was creating a battery that was lightweight, really powerful, and could be recharged over and over. The solution was this clever system where tiny lithium ions just move back and forth, storing and releasing energy with incredible efficiency. And the impact? Oh, it's way bigger than just your phone. That exact same idea, moving little lithium ions around, is what's now powering the multi-trillion-dollar revolution in electric cars and massive energy storage grids. Before this patent, trying to analyze a piece of DNA was like trying to find one specific sentence in an entire library full of books. Kary Mullis's invention, which won him a Nobel Prize, by the way, is basically a genetic copy machine. By repeating a simple cycle of heating and cooling, it can take one tiny invisible fragment of DNA and turn it into millions of copies. It's completely revolutionized everything from forensic science to medical testing. You know, the early internet was like a chaotic, massive library with no card catalog. The PageRank patent was what finally brought some order to all that chaos. The core idea from Larry Page and Sergey Brin was brilliantly simple. Treat a link from one web page to another as a vote of importance. This elegant algorithm became the foundation of Google search and forever changed how we find information. And finally, let's talk about the patent that completely changed our physical relationship with technology. Before the iPhone, we were stuck poking at screens with a stylus or typing on tiny physical keyboards. Apple's multi-touch patent let a screen recognize intuitive gestures from multiple fingers at once, like the classic pinch to zoom. It just made technology feel fluid, natural, and deeply personal. Okay, let's really put this into perspective for a second. The telecom industry, which all started with Bell's patent, it's now worth over $2 trillion. That's trillion with a T. The semiconductor industry, born from the transistor, over 600 billion. These weren't just clever ideas. They became the absolute pillars of our entire global economy. So, when you trace it all back, from that very first voice sent across a wire to this entire world we now hold in our pockets, the takeaway is just crystal clear. The most powerful ideas don't just create new products, they build entirely new realities. These patents didn't just give us things to buy, they changed how we live, how we work, and how we connect with each other. And that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? When you look at the huge challenges we're facing today in energy, in health, in computing, what massive problem, what huge challenge do you think the next world-changing patent is going to solve?